Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel, where we bring you critical and in-depth reviews on just about every indie game we can get our hands on, and today we're going to be taking a look at Katana Zero, just released for the Nintendo Switch. Katana Zero, if you may have heard of it or seen any of the trailer footage, is definitely an 80s themed cyberpunk action game, but the way it's executed puts it leagues ahead of the rest. But it's not just the graphics and the audio and the quality of the action, but an incredible backstory and narrative that unfolds through the gameplay that are going to keep you hooked until you regret that it's over. Taking over control of our character immediately as the game starts definitely doesn't give us any background to the story, but that is a massive intrigue to the player as it unfolds the deeper you get into the game. However, we are allowed to explore certain combat abilities of our character, such as jumping, attacking, dodging, as well as some special abilities like slowing time and getting a unique handle on the automatic respawn system. One small fragment of information that you are given very early in game is that for some reason, due to some sort of circumstances, your character has the ability to manipulate time. Or at least due to a certain drug he's been taking, he has a heightened awareness and precognition and the ability to manipulate his perception of time. So besides the incredibly crisp combat and the fact that you're pretty much the ultimate glass cannon and will get killed if any enemy touches or shoots you, the primary gaming element here is the fact that most of the game that you're playing through is actually you forecasting through a partial precognition how to best take on each enemy environment. So in a sense, every single playthrough of every single level section is merely just a forecast of anticipation of the best possible moves to be able to make it without taking a hit. And once you've completed the level, you have the ability to watch the playback of your perfect run right before you move on to the next section. But moving on, after completing every mission, you'll be able to go back to your somewhat Bladerunner-esque neo-dystopian apartment, where you'll be able to relax and unwind from the day's slaughter. However, every morning after, you'll have to see your psychiatrist to work your way through the disturbing dreams of the night before and to get another dose of the medications you're taking in order to prepare yourself for the next mission. However, as each mission dossier is assigned, read, and subsequently destroyed, and each target carried out with extreme prejudice, it becomes harder and harder to tell if the drug-addled mind of our lone samurai is suffering from withdrawals at times or suffering from the drug itself, making it impossible to tell the past from the future from the present. And if phasing in and out of a disjointed reality wasn't difficult enough in this crazy action adventure, you'll also be interacting with a huge cast of NPCs ranging from the innocent to the psychotic. And this is where one of the probably most pivotal aspects of player investment comes in, is that in every single cutscene, in every single interaction, Katana Zero doesn't tell you the story, it makes it your story for you to interact with. And even cutscenes that don't have the main character still have the player interacting to make conversational decisions. But as I said before, as this game does deal with a hugely drug-addled dystopian society, a lot of the interactions might be a little disturbing. There will be conversations where you'll be immersed in certain situations such as drug use, torture, alcohol abuse, murder, and in several game situations you won't really be able to make a choice that you might feel comfortable with as a player. However, should your reaction time be high enough, you can cut off any conversation at any point, generally by selecting the red conversational option within the first few seconds of any dialogue interaction. However, that being said, each conversational choice you make in the game will have an effect on how every level carries out. So you'll really need to be careful who you talk to, what you say, and just how you act. Because even though you are essentially an entire special forces team wrapped up in one samurai who can slash, use invincibility rolls, stop time, and pick up and hurl and kill people with countless numbers of objects around the screen, sometimes a lowly NPC can really help you out in a pinch. Getting back to the actual gameplay though, much like the intrigue in the story develops and unfolds as you play, so do the difficulties of the levels. In the initial levels, you may have to handle a handful of brawlers in a very short section, but the deeper you go, the longer the runs will get and the more well-armed your opponents will be. Additionally, laser traps and automatic doors will be integrated, and instead of just going in sword swinging, you'll really have to anticipate the best course of action. However, playing through multiple times as you anticipate your moves to make that perfect run to get to the end, you'll have a lot of opportunities to perfect your skills. And yes, if you were wondering about that one-hit death mechanic, that does also apply to boss fights. And though Katana Zero doesn't actually have a ton of bosses to confront, they're all really unique and will require an absolutely perfected level of skill for your defensive roles, attacking strategies, and manipulation of time. And on that note of time, this does bring us to the game's length. For an action game that is so fast-paced and so accurate and so well-polished, it's hard to imagine that this game could be longer than a couple of hours. And with all the crazy dialogue options and ways to interact in the cutscenes and character and plot development, there's definitely a good bit of replay value to be had. Not only is the art style one of the cleanest and most crisp I've seen, but the new wave synth soundtrack is actually really awesome to listen to. And while the audio and the visuals definitely do have a really big impact on how gameplay is interpreted, it's the real subtle details of the game that really do stand out and make this so enjoyable. Not only is there the uniqueness of the precognition system where you can watch replays after you've accomplished that perfect level run, but in the beginning of every level we see the samurai putting on his headphones and putting in a cassette tape before he inevitably goes in to make his mark. And while I would love to talk a ton more about these little details that I noticed, I think it'd be way more fun to discover it for yourself as you play, and I really don't want to spoil anything for anybody. So on that note, that does about wrap up the review of Katana Zero, now on the Nintendo Switch. So if you enjoyed the review or found it helpful, feel free to throw me a like or a comment to show your support, and don't forget to click that little bell icon when you subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. There are new and unique indies coming out literally every single day, so there's always going to be something new to find right here. But since I can only cover a couple games a week, if you want a heads up on which reviews might be coming out next, you can follow us on Twitter. And if you want to help support the channel and help me actually create these reviews, I could always appreciate another Patreon. But anyway, this has been Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.